1924. It's January and it's cold and dark. As women gathered to pledge themselves to the YWCA and light candles, they were truly lighting candles of hope for generations to come. The Roaring Twenties brought prosperity and cultural advancement, but also extreme contradictions in the form of intense social unrest and reaction. Hate groups were being formed. Religious fundamentalism was sprouting, and women were still fighting to gain freedom in their own personal lives. Yet these bold women were brave enough to pledge themselves to YWCA and have their name publicly displayed supporting our mission. We started with brave trailblazers, and over the last 100 years, we've continued blazing new trails. We're proud to say that we began to offer things like the first prenatal care for unwed mothers in the 1960s, and we organized training and classes for women throughout the decades to help with economic advancement. Until the YWCA stepped up, women couldn't swim in public pools in our community. Our goal for the Sauk Valley since 1924 has been to find people without the power, the unseen population who have needs and take action to fulfill those needs. We do this by creating a safe and inclusive space for all members, regardless of race, religion, or gender. This is our commitment to the Sauk Valley.
I eventually got a job at St. John's Lutheran Church. Then when I got a job, that's when I moved into the YWCA. So I lived there then until I was married. There was one large room, the bedrooms were off of this large room. We cooked and ate there. Of course, I can remember the old building. Well, both the old buildings, you know. We had a house mother, Mrs. Armstrong, and the building was locked at a certain time. You had to be in by a certain time. I don't remember the time, but I mean, we could go to the movies and so forth, so it must have been later. We used to have a good time. And of course, I lived on a farm, and when I came back after the weekend, I brought food with me. So we had fun up there cooking. One lady, that was her home. I mean, she was older than some of the girls, and that's where she lived permanently. The rest of us were in usually till we got married and then left.
What started out as a place for housing and support for women quickly evolved to a place where the community could give back, receive specialized training, and a place for fellowship. Women, young and seasoned, gathered to be independent, learn new skills, and have equal opportunity, all while advocating for YWCA's mission. In the 1920s, the Business Professional Women's Club began to advocate at the national level for women's rights, attending YWCA national conferences and inviting YWCA national speakers to our local center. This was all to create awareness and involvement from the community. This club developed several groups for our youth, and at this time, YWCA was known as a space for young girls to have Christian influence, have the opportunity to train new skills, and meet others just like them. Other community groups began to learn about our organization and what we could offer, and soon we realized that the need was providing a space for fellowship and support. Of course, YWCA was there to accommodate. By the 2000s, YWCA had been a temporary home for local church groups, Girl Scout troops, support groups for breast cancer survivors and their families, and a place for seniors to socialize while offering affordable services. In turn, YWCA gained the support of our most valued asset, volunteers. Women volunteered their time not for their personal gain, but for future generations. Without volunteers in the community giving their time, money, and expertise, the clubs, trainings, and fundraisers would not be possible. We know that volunteers continue to shape our organization, and in fact, our organization was founded by volunteers who had a passion for our mission, and over the years, many of those volunteers have returned for more opportunity or even employment.
I was probably 3 or 4 years old, and my mom was bringing me to a group called the YWCA, and I was taken down to a babysitter in the basement, and it was ladies that would get together and support each other and talk a lot. There was a generation of YWCAs that they would plan. They were very crafty, and a lot of them were seamstresses, and they would plan style shows. YWCAs turned into Y Gals at a time where a new generation was coming in, and some of those ladies were divorced, and they still needed the fellowship of other women and friends. And I think that's what YWCA stood for in the very beginnings of YWCA, was supporting women that, they were in need.
In the 1960s, the country and our culture were transitioning. Family needs and expectations were changing. What was previously not thought of as a need or important became important to women, and in particular, working women. Child development, the ultimate opportunity for empowerment and setting the trajectory of someone's life. Launching our preschool, we began meeting the needs of women and families. Our preschool endured for over 40 years, and we were blessed to be a part of the launching of the educational careers of hundreds of children across the Sauk Valley. Our premier programming was sought after, and parents would line up to register their children hours before we even opened the doors. They, too, wanted their children to have the opportunity to experience empowering socialization and academic stimulation in our safe, nurturing environment. In the early 1980s, fueled by the dire needs of those affected by domestic violence, fearless executive director Joanne Lyon led the charge to take the organization to the next level and to begin competing for state grants to launch our victim services. We were among the first in the state to offer domestic violence shelter and rape crisis services.
We had no legal tools convenient for addressing domestic violence. We had no organized shelters. We had no support systems on the outside of the court to move people into, to provide them some type of an assistance. As Joanne Lyons became more and more involved in it, it became apparent that there should be other relief available. She eventually opened up the YW as a shelter facility. Nowadays, a victim is able to go to a support organization such as the YW, giving them tips about how they can handle their day-to-day situations, either financially or physically, in order to extract themselves from the violence.
In the 1980s, recognizing that women needed the opportunity to maintain their health and work out, the YWCA launched the Shape Shop. This gave women the opportunity to work out in a safe, non-judgmental, women's-only environment. This was unheard of at that time and greatly welcomed. By 2006, this need had waned, and so once again, we switched gears and looked for the next unmet need. We closed the Shape Shop and launched our career services program, Upper First Avenue. And while this too has evolved, it shows how committed we are to ensuring that our services are relevant and needed. In 1995, we launched Big Brothers Big Sisters and fostered its growth and development to meet the needs of disadvantaged youth.
There's lots of volunteer opportunities depending on what you like, what you want to do. There's our DV volunteers, working with the DV survivors. Working in the office, there's always things to do, whether it's answering phones or, paperwork, filing, anything like that that you might be interested in doing. There's also events. We do lots of events, so that a majority, we always look for volunteers for all the sorts of events that we are doing, whether it's the Cinco de Mayo, Fiesta before the Fiesta, tamales. We're currently getting ready for our tamales sales, so looking for distribution of that. And then there's also our YWCA West End Moxie store. West End Moxie is our thrift store. So we started West End Moxie a couple years ago. We have people that come in there and shop, and we always hear about their success stories. We hear about, oh, the YWCA helped me at one point or another. We want to give back, so we're back again either to shop, or they are bringing their donations into us because now they are successful.
Never complacent. In 2005, through a strategic planning process, our discussions turned back to tackling the current unmet needs of the Sauk Valley. Asking the questions, what are the needs? How can we truly serve the Sauk Valley? Looking to be a voice for the voiceless, we began discussing how YWCA could serve immigrants, an unseen but critical part of our community. With research and planning, we launched our immigrant outreach program in 2008 with the support of the United Way of Whiteside County and the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights. This program continues to grow and flourish, helping over 300 immigrants every single year. And the growth is continuing as we are pursuing opportunities to establish an immigration center. To this day, we ensure that all of our programming is available in both English and Spanish.
We do professional interpreting and translation. We also help clients apply for any financial aid or any government assistance that they are able to qualify for. And we also, any questions that they have, we are able to find the resources and help them find those answers to those questions. In the Immigrant Outreach Program, we serve around 300 clients a year. We have a lot of clients that are also in the domestic violence department and the sexual assault department, so we are able to help in both ways too. A lot of immigrants, sometimes they're not open, and it's because they're scared. They're scared of a lot of things. They don't know what's going to come with it. They don't know. There's a lot of judgment with that. And they're not very open about things that it happened in their life. So sometimes it's very hard to get them to open up and to even trust you a little bit because of many things that they've gone through their life. We've seen a lot of clients in need of getting either their status adjusted, getting petitioned for a visa, their residency, and that's stuff that they don't even have transportation. Sometimes they don't have the money to even do those type of applications because they're very costly. They cost a lot. So what the YWCA is trying to work towards is get accredited to be able to help them with that.
Guided by our foundational philosophy of empowerment, we give opportunity, skills, and hope to those who need it the most, so that they have the power to take control of their lives, achieve their potential, and in turn, strengthen the Sauk Valley.
When the opportunity came open to transition from the Tech Girls position into the SA Prevention Educator position, I was a little heart-torn because I love Tech Girls. Tech Girls impacts fourth grade girls. It empowers them and also influences them into STEM career fields. It was such a moment where I could be creative and we could make new things such as summer science, and it definitely was an opportunity that means a lot to me that I was able to achieve when I started there as a volunteer and then was able to take over as the facilitator. But the prevention education position really spoke to me, and I knew I had to go for it. So prevention education was also very empowering for me, but also to others around me. Through that position, I was able to go all around to Whiteside and Lee County and speak to kids that were from preschool all the way to the college level about prevention education for sexual harassment and also child sexual abuse. Those are very heavy topics, but it is so important for kids to feel empowered that they can stand up for themselves, that they can tell someone, and that they don't have to be in those positions.
We continue to touch thousands of lives through our programs. Our current prevention education, girls programming, victim services, school-based counseling, and immigrant outreach are there for those who need us the most. At YWCA, we choose to take action to make lasting change. Our programs make this happen every day. This is our legacy.
Our philosophy of empowerment allows us to be the voice for the voiceless and create pathways for marginalized communities.
We got involved with the Dr. Martin Luther King, and then later on we got involved with Juneteenth. Well, Juneteenth in Sterling, what impressed me the most, we were the first city in the whole area that started Juneteenth. And I commend the YWCA for stepping out to be the first in doing so. And by what it really meant, what Juneteenth really means or meant to African American people, and most people had not heard about Juneteenth. And still sometime today, people does not know what it means or how it came into existence. They know now that it's a national holiday. They know that we do it here. But I pray that we continue it, and that we continue with it to show that in America we have justice for all. In America, we love our country. In America, we hope to see that every day, one day, that everyone receives the kind of freedom and ideas that we can help anybody, that we can take care of what we're supposed to be doing, because we are not a country of hate, we're a country of love.
When we think about inclusivity, it's not just about race, but also gender and sexual orientation. Since the 20s, activists have been advocating for the LGBTQIA+ community. From 1996 to 2015, the Defense of Marriage Act defined marriage as only between a man and a woman for purposes of federal law. YWCA did not let this controversial topic stop them from becoming a place of acceptance and empowerment for all. In the early 2000s, grassroots group invited YWCA to begin the launch of a PFLAG chapter in the Sauk Valley. Now, we continue to evolve our space, policies, and groups to connect and serve as an ally to those that have been affected by our nation's laws and stereotypes.
Well, I felt like the mission really fit well with my background in social work, dealing with social justice, dealing with helping others, serving others, advocacy for others, and really the dignity of all people. Early on in the 80s would be with United UCAN, it was called, and we worked with individuals who had HIV and AIDS, and staff were very supportive and helpful in that.
I did have a student come up to me that was identifying as he, him, but previously had the born identity of she, her. And through this, we were able to work with the school, but also to educate the students in the room about what it means to be transgender and what it means to identify as he, him, his, and also to respect those names.
There is no greater movement than being a part of the largest women's membership in the world. We spoke out against racism in the 20s and 30s. We advocated for women's rights in the 50s and 60s. And to this day, we continue to stand up for victims' rights. We tirelessly serve our community 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We lift up the most vulnerable. We see everyone and give them the opportunity to join the movement.
What is most important to me is how the YWCA serves our community. So they work with people who have some of the greatest needs in our area, and they help them learn skills that can make their lives better through empowerment, through equality. All of those things are very important. So really our community is made better by the work that the YWCA does. Put simply, my hope is another 100 years and beyond. I think One of the great things about the YWCA is they really are unsung heroes in our community, and I want to see them continue that vision, that mission, and that purpose, serving our friends, neighbors, and family members right here in our area.
It takes more than staff and clients to change lives. Volunteers and donors that have an equal passion for the work we do makes us unstoppable. Collectively, we're driven by our mission, and we're driven by the impact of our programs right here in the Sauk Valley. Every day, we're inspired to keep going and doing the impossible.
Happy birthday, YWCA.